Star Citizen has some truly amazing looking armor cosmetics. The details are exquisite and the stylings are extremely diverse. But this armor in-game isn't just for show. It actually has purposes, different purposes. And like most things in this game, not all the purposes are yet functional, and the developers are building a much more complex and in-depth system around the armor for the future. Today we're going to take a look at what the different armor classes actually do in the game, what you should be using them for, and how this is possibly going to change down the road. Now currently, the armor in Star Citizen serves three primary purposes: damage reduction, inventory size, and temperature resistance. It's also classified into three different distinct weight categories, each offering varying degrees of these core functions. Light armor provides the least protection and has the smallest inventory space, where heavy armor offers the most damage resistance and the most inventory. Now, in addition to the three armor types, there's also flight suits, which must be worn under armor, but you don't actually have to wear armor on top of a flight suit. You can just get into a spacecraft as long as you got your suit and helmet. Or if you're in a sealed hangar space, you don't even need to wear your flight suit at all. Now, as you might imagine, the primary use for armor is in fact, well, armor. Damage reduction. The damage types you can receive in game range from physical to thermal, chemical, energy, distortion, and stun. You really don't need to understand the nuances of each damage type at the moment, as armor provides pretty much a flat resistance across all damage types with a boost to stun resistance. Flight suits offer the least amount of protection from damage with only a 10% reduction for basically all damage types. Light armor offers 20%, medium armor 30%, and heavy armor 40% reduction. Now obviously the difference between say 10% reduction and 40% reduction is significant, and it's going to give you a greater chance of staying alive in a firefight where you're actually taking shots. However, due to the poor latency in this game, usually two players are able to kill each other or kill trade in most situations regardless of their armor type. So until that's refined, it's probably not going to make a huge difference in most PvP situations. In PvE though, heavy armor can absolutely save your skin. Now, what's going to be more important to you in the here and now of Star Citizen is the temperature resistance and inventory space benefits. All of the planets and moons in Star Citizen have their own climates with unique weather conditions and atmospheres, or lack of atmospheres. For example, Hurston and ArcCorp both have breathable atmospheres and generally moderate climates. But other planets or moons like Yela and Aberdeen have extreme temperatures that'll kill you pretty darn fast if you're not properly equipped. Flight suits, similar to their damage reduction, provide the least amount of temperature protection, allowing you to survive in -30°C up to the mid-40s, while the heavier armor will boost your protection all the way to -80°C and 100°C. You can actually check the stats of your armor in your inventory or in shops or on website wiki pages if you're curious, but generally speaking, light is very weak and heavy is very strong. Now, if your armor isn't capable of protecting you against an environment, your survival time estimator will drop massively. If you exceed this survival time limit, you'll become incapacitated and eventually die. So pay attention to that and make sure that you get into a ship or a shelter to reset that cooldown. However, even the heavy armor can't provide protection against the extremes that some planets throw at you, and specialized armor is needed in these cases. That is, if you're staying outside for longer periods of time. You can always exit your ship in really adverse climates and get into a bunker fairly quickly. Sometimes the survival estimates can go below 10 minutes, but that's usually plenty of time to get to where you need to be. But if you're out on some sort of expedition or you're hand mining, you're going to want to make sure that you have the proper environmental gear. The Pembroke and the Novikov armors are some of the best protection of any of the suits in the game. They're technically considered heavy armor, but they come as two pieces of armor instead of arms, legs, chest, and helmet. The Pembroke is designed for hot conditions and covers you up to 225°C, while the Novikov is designed for cold environments and offers protection down to -225°C. These pieces of armor are quite expensive though, so be prepared to pay a premium. Now sadly, there aren't a lot of gameplay loops right now that are going to really engage environmental resistance gameplay at the moment. Aside from hand mining, there's not too much else to do, and what will probably be one of the main factors in picking an armor right now is going to be its inventory space. Like many RPGs, your character can carry a certain amount of gear. Armor expands this amount based on its class. Your inventory space in armor is going to be divided into gear slots and storage capacity. Armor, chest pieces, and leg pieces come with internal storage capacity for general gear with some size limitations. So carrying stuff like backup ammo, food, water, and tools is totally reasonable when you want to fit them inside your armor pieces. But things like an extra primary weapon or other pieces of armor generally won't fit inside. However, the gear slots on your armor will let you carry additional primary weapons, ammo, utilities, and medical consumables on the outside of your person, not taking up that internal storage capacity. Heavy armor allows for the most slots, so heavy torso armor can allow you to holster 2 primary weapons, while the light armor only lets you holster 1. Heavy armor can also equip 8 magazines and 4 grenades, while most light armor can only carry 4 mags and 2 grenades. Leg armor can also allow you to equip additional utilities and consumables on the outside as well. And leg armor also increases your carrying capacity. Flight suits only have a slot for a sidearm and 1 slot for a medical or utility gadget, so you have to choose between those if you're only wearing a flight suit. They also have 2 slots for med pens or consumables. Light, medium, and heavy armor all add an additional medical or utility gadget slot, so you could carry something like a medical device and a multi-tool simultaneously. Different armors offer more or less med pen slots as well. Light has 3 slots, while medium and heavy have 4. Plus, leg armor has its own internal inventory space as well, where you can store more consumables and even sidearms. When looting enemies, be sure to open up the leg and torso armor to check for other items. Now, of course, you can expand your inventory space with a backpack, but your armor type will dictate the maximum size backpack that you can carry. So if you're wearing light armor, you won't be able to equip heavy backpacks. But if you're wearing heavy armor, you can more or less equip any backpack from light to heavy. Now, in the future, armor capabilities are going to be massively expanded to offer stuff like suit components, batteries needed to power the armor, radar capabilities, signature ratings, movement speeds, ship compatibility, and even more unique functionality. Right now, you can wear kind of any armor in any backpack and still fit into any pilot seat. But if you look at just how goofy that looks and how absolutely massive some of the heavy armor is, it doesn't make a lot of sense that you should be able to fit into the cockpit of a small fighter craft wearing some crazy heavy armor. This is all changing down the road. Hopefully the change will come once suit lockers are functional though, allowing players to store different suits for different situations and quickly swap between them. This could definitely bring some added cool factor into the game, like suiting up before an away mission, or if you're on a ship specifically designed for boarding another ship, you may get the jump on the enemy crew before they can change into their combat armor, giving your raiding party a big advantage. But like anything regarding Star Citizen's future features, it's pretty much impossible to say when these newer changes will be live, as the feature focus has been elsewhere for quite some time. Currently in game, most of the time I just equip a flight suit and a helmet when I plan on piloting, and just get the heaviest armor and backpack possible when doing FPS missions. The only downside really to having a big expensive set of armor is on losing it if you die. Though for any newer player, I would recommend just looting the heavier armor off of NPCs while you're on missions. Now, the suit components that I mentioned have been discussed, teased, and talked about by the developers here and there for quite a few years now. We did get a preview of the armor scanning system during the last CitizenCon, so hopefully that feature isn't too much further down the road. And eventually all suits will be systems based and powered just like the ships, so if you're in, say, harsh weather conditions, your survival estimate will drop dramatically if your suit's battery dies. You'll eventually need to carry spare batteries for missions in harsher conditions, or even different components to survive in different conditions. However, the intent of this system isn't to make exploration and generally just getting around the verse a chore. If you're not experiencing the harshest weather conditions possible, you'll likely be able to go for hours without having to worry about maintaining your suit's components. Now, one thing worth noting is armor is supposed to affect your stamina and mobility, but in the testing that I've done recently, armor seems to have pretty much no impact on the amount of total stamina you have or how long your hunger and hydration last. It's possible that this worked at one point and was removed for one reason or another, but I haven't been able to confirm that anything's currently working in game. Now, as for the current armor system, it is cool, but it should become way more interesting as the other features come online, and even restrictions are added. I really like the idea of purpose-built gear, and the devs have even talked about the component modification allowing you to customize your armor to the extent that you would a spaceship, which sounds great, especially for players that are going to be more focused on the FPS side of the game. For the here and now though, heavy armor seems to be the general gear that does it all, while the lighter armor can look cool or at least more appropriate for piloting, and at least it costs a lot less. However, the developers have been slowly restricting the basic weapon and gear purchases from stores and making them loot only, so it's possible that heavier armor may become more limited down the road. We'll see how this system works out. In the meantime, I hope this video gives you a good introduction to armor functionality and also some insights on how it's going to change. Next up, check out this video showcasing every single gun in Star Citizen and what it does. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Levelcap signing off.